All right, we're going to animate stuff.
All right.
So we need to have something to animate.
Okay.
So I'd like you to create a quad. So we're going to rough out a lower third.
Sweet.
So a quad, apply a material to it, put a text object on it, because I'm going to double click.
Text object.
Oh, I'd like this to be center justified.
Oh, all right.
So tab and options.
Tab options.
You see its alignment. You've
Yep.
got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The first one is the one that we're always going to be messing with.
Sure.
Well, pretty much. There's center. So now if you transform your text object, so you go to your transform tab, and in the X position, you put half of your screen width in there. So it's 960 at the moment. There you go. It's in the middle. So obviously you could move it over to the left or the right and it'll move too. So yeah, feel free. Take the text object and drag and drop it on top of the quad object in your object manager. You'll see those blue arrows at the just above.
Yeah.
It says there's got a left and a right and up and down. The blue arrows under the word object manager.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So these are the things that'll up and down obviously moves them up and down in the order.
Mm-hmm.
Left and right makes it either a child or not a child. So if you hit the left arrow, you see you break that connection, do a right arrow. So if you don't want to drag and drop, control arrow keys do your blue arrows.
Oh, very cool.
Yep.
So now we're now.
So if you now move the quad, the text will go with you. So stop for a second and figure out why, because this is, after we leave, this is the kind of stuff that's going to drive you crazy. So why is it that way?
Because it's parented to.
Yep, so its XY position is in relation to the parent.
Yep.
So when you put in minus 960, it went to the left.
Yeah.
Notice it's right on the edge of the screen. So if you just type 0, that is now in line with the parent object.
There we go.
You go to the.
Reparent this guy. So I move the quad object now.
Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
Let's move it right there. All right.
All right, so if you start typing text into that box, you're going to type the maximum number of letters.
Oh, okay.
All right, that works. So let's do an auto squeeze at that point so that the text doesn't go over that box. So go to your tab and options again. And you see the auto squeeze section.
Yes, I do.
So by default it's 400.
Okay.
So if you turned it on, probably nothing's going to happen because the box is not 400 yet. But if you hit set to current, undo the auto squeeze, uncheck the box, and now hit set to current. Did that change just to, oh it did. 420.41 instead of 400, okay. Yeah, it's working then. I just saw 400, I didn't see it change there. Okay. All right, so we're going to animate this in. But I'm going to show you a kind of I want that object not to animate, but I want it to like wipe on. So we're going to create a mask, and we're going to animate the mask to reveal.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to create another quad, and this is going to be our mask. So give it a name down in the object manager there. Okay. We now need to create a material that we can apply to it that makes it a mask.
Sure.
So if you go to your material manager or down in the bottom there, click on your material tab. So whichever you're more comfortable with. Right click in the empty space of the thumbnail area there. Hit new material. Even though you do see there's a mask option, we're just doing a straight nothing fancy, because if you do that material option, it's asking for an image, so you might have an image mask that you might want to use.
Sure.
All right, so all we have to do here is give it a name. That material 4 is not going to cut it. Mask will be just fine. Down at the bottom there, there's a blending mode.
Yep.
Or blending area. There's a blending mode drop-down box. Go down to the alpha mask option there. Yep. So you notice the preview turns black. Change the preview image from a cube sphere to a teapot. This is just something we all teach everyone.
Okay.
It's they call it the Utah teapot. No lying, you look it up on Google. Because Salt Lake City was like the birthplace or the center of the universe for 3D graphics. So the reason it's a teapot, why you have a sphere and a cube sphere and a quad as previews, it's the one object, 3D object, that has convex and concave surfaces.
Oh.
So it's a way of displaying your material and what it will look like if it's on a 3D model.
Sure.
That's kind of the whole reason behind that. But it's always a fun story for me to tell. Okay. Go ahead and hit OK now. We've got our... And the reason we do that thumbnail is so when you look at all your materials, quickly, easy to determine, oh, that's my mask over there. So apply that. So you have a black box. If you were to double click on that scene in your scene manager to put it online, you grab that black box, control click and drag it around the screen, what do you get?
Oh, very cool.
So even though it's a black box in the main viewport, this is the brute force method. It's just masking through everything.
Now, why is it masking the quad and not the text?
All right, so either your mask is not in front of your text, so you could grab your... There's two reasons why, but one is the depth. So if you move the mask forward, so if you go to the quad tab, and you go, well, actually, my bad, you go to the transform tab, and you move it forward, so a higher value, a higher number. You don't have to go crazy, because obviously the higher the number, the...
Sure.
Now try dragging it across. Still no go, right? It's one of the reasons why text is in its own little area. We treat text differently. If you grab select the text object right now, and you go to the rendering tab, you'll see that the render order priority is set to text on top by default. We can go into the preferences and change this so that because the other option is normal. There you go. So now if you grab your mask, now it's masked out, right?
Yeah. Sweet.
Okay.
All right.
I'm going to get you to do another quad, because that's kind of boring. It's just a mask. It's just right?
Yeah.
So if you hit quad, I would like that to be like 10 pixels wide, and however high that box is. There you go. Apply a material to it. I'd like a white or a silver if you got one. If you don't got one, make one.
Alright. Material management. Material. White.
Ooh.
Oh.
You know what? Yeah, give it a name. And that's white right there. So that works. That works. I was going to get you to do it because you could do a cylinder, and because the light is going to fade, it's going to look 3D drawing.
Oh.
Well, sorry, I got stuck in the little details.
No, that's right.
Go ahead.
You
Okay.
try cylinder?
No. We'll apply this to the cylinder.
Oh, sure. All right.
So make a cylinder then. Apply the white material to it. See, now we've got that. Flip it around. So we're flipping it in the Z-axis. or I should say rotating it in the z-axis. There you go, make it 90. So you see how the mask cuts through it?
Yeah.
So we want the edge of the... So what I'm going to try and do is I want this to be a child of that.
Oh, no.
So this being the cylinder to be a child of the mask. So if you hold down the control key, if you want to do it manually, hit the up arrow.
And now I go.
You got it. So let's make the diameter of the cylinder smaller. The idea is we're going to, because the cylinder is attached to the quad, we're going to move the quad and it's going to make it look like the white bar is revealing the box.
Oh, okay. Alright, so how do I make the diameter smaller? Is it the radius? Or
Yep. I guess I should have used the word radius and not diameter.
It's alright. Alright, there we go. That's small enough or should I go small?
That's your choice, you designer.
Alright, you know, let's
The
go
goal here is, you don't have to make a pretty looking graphic. It's the bits, the parts, right?
Sure, yeah.
So, all right. So you know how you could do the, well, we're not going to do the multiple shift and align object centers and all the rest of it. Just grab it. So you see they've got a yellow dot.
Yep.
In that, you don't have to hold the control key at that point. You just grab the yellow dot, left click and drag. And the reason you can do this is because you've got the move tool selected. So your objects are going to show you the pivot point, and so just drag it and put it on the left edge of that quad.
Just a quick question, where are the tools there? The move tool? Is it
Ah, sorry, at the top there.
Oh yeah, okay.
Also, if you hover over it, it gives you a shortcut of,
Control W, Control E.
Okay.
which is kind of like an industry standard for 3D
Right.
modeling, actually.
Right.
It's the... so, all the way down, to drop it down vertically, and then hang a left with it.
So, like
Yeah.
that.
So there should be no gap between the left and the right edge. Bring it all the way, because remember the white is, this is going to float across the top of that.
Sure. Oh, yeah,
Can you snap it?
To snap it, you would highlight both of them.
Oh, okay.
But the problem is the options you have are align centers, align vertically. So if your pivot point's not set on the mask correctly,
Yeah,
it won't.
got it.
You're going to, and to set the pivot point, it's a right click on the object, and the dialog box that pops up, there's an option for pivot. Okay. All right, so if you grab the quad now, control click and drag that quad around, or the mask, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
See how it's moving? Now, looks a little bit off, right?
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So let's bring the cylinder forward, closer to us,
Sure.
so that it's not being cropped out by the mask. And in doing so, that's bringing that object closer to us, so it's going to look bigger. There you go. And you notice as you brought it closer to you in Z space, it looks like it's moving to the left.
Yep.
Because think perspective view.
Yep.
If it's right in front of us, it's going to come right at us. But if it's off to the side, it's going to look like it's sliding off to the left.
So now if I-
All right, so now if you click and drag that mask, how does it look? So, all right, so you notice that the mask, if you don't hit the up or
Well,
down
you have to
quite
make it
right,
Exactly on. Could you make the mask bigger?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what. So if you go
Yeah.
to the quad tab,
Yep.
go to the height, and just increase that. There you go. So now you've got,
Yeah.
okay,
We'll make it a little.
If you make it longer, then it'll also give you more space there. It's like,
oh yeah, because we are going to animate this bar off from the, so remember the quad and the text, so the background and the text aren't going to be animated. So the bar is going to be off the screen. Sorry, the mask, everything's going to be off the screen.
Sure.
Go that way.
Oh, yeah,
There you go.
And you can't see it off screen. There's not a way to like get an outline or something.
No,
No,
that's an unfortunate thing. All right, so problem is, if this is where we're going to start our animation, we can see our text box. So our mask needs to be made really wide.
Oh, got it. Mask.
Remember yeah, about there.
Oh, that's cool.
Now grab your mask because you're going to now have to reset where your cylinder's sitting. So bring the mask to where we can see it. Because as we made that mask wider, it grew both left and right
Sure.
side.
Should I still hang on the left or?
Oh yeah, because otherwise that's going to look a little weird. The bar is there, right?
Yeah.
There you go, perfect. So you're going to move that mask just to the left to where the bar is off the screen. Yep, that's it. That's perfect.
Oh, that's perfect.
Yep, because there, look at that. Our
Yeah.
graph, because we're animating on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we get into, we've got all the bits that we want. We're only going to animate the mask for right now. But this will work. Okay, so you'll see there's a timeline at the bottom.
Yeah, I'm here.
And you'll see at the very right there it says animation controller number 1.
Yep.
And you've got 100 and 200. So what is this? The animation controller number 1 is a container for your keyframes. So think of it like a subcomp in a composition in After Effects. And our scene director, that is what we're going to open up now, is your main composition. So double click on that where it says scene director number 1. So every scene has a scene director default.
Oh, okay.
You can add more as you wish, and then we can then control the way the thing animates in different ways, all in one template.
So, how did you get to that scene director again? Where was that?
Yeah, so on the right hand side we've got pop-out menus. And so
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, scene director number 1 was bold. That means that's the scene director that plays. When you make more of these scene directors, you can only have one.
Number 1 because this is scene 1.
Yeah, we
So-
can rename it. So if you went to the next scene, the one below it,
Yeah.
select it, go over to your scene directors. See?
Oh, it's still scene director.
Right, but here it's different length. It's got. All right, so
Sure.
you'll see that there is the animation controller number 1.
Yeah.
By default, it's 200, and if I asked you to make that 60, what's your instinct to make that animation controller be 60 frames long?
Probably drag it to 60.
Yeah, and I'd be like, nah.
No.
Nah.
Alright.
All that's doing is hiding. It's like the
sure.
animation controller is still 200 long at that point.
Oh, okay.
So you can mess with you. I don't know really why or how, but it does. To change the length, down here at 200, type in 60, and you see it is now the length of our animation controller. So by default, it's always 200. Don't know if you noticed in the sequencer, the duration for most of these graphics was 3 seconds and 20 frames. That's 60 frames a second, that's 200 frames. So now if you drag that scene in, it's only say it's 60 frames long, or a second long.
Yeah.
All right, so now a dumb question. So are
Yeah.
we then, our whole system by default is 5994i, is that it? Or P or no, I?
P.
It is P.
Yeah, because your switcher is running in a UHD 5994 frame rate.
Okay,
It's best to make your project match that.
okay.
Xpression can do the conversion on the way out, but it's just one less thing to do if you give it less things to think
So we're
about.
just always going to be thinking 60 frames a second, Ron.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what you'll find annoying is in this interface, this main viewport, it plays back at 2997.
Oh.
So when you go to, you create something and time it out the way you like it in the interface here, when you go to play it on air, it's going to be twice as fast. So you keep
Remember
that, just,
that,
yeah, keep those. It's hard. I now set my computer to be 60 frames a second, so I can get into the habit of, because 30 to me, a dissolve of 15 frames was just fine. 60 frames a second, it's a little quicker. All right. So you can see that you'll be able to drag that animation controller left and right.
Yep.
So you can slide, if you slide it on the timeline,
Like this.
yep, if you let go of it, you can see that it starts at, what frame is that?
40.
Yep. So if you drag on the timeline at the top here in the scene director, you're gonna, yeah, click there.
There's like a playback head?
So click
Oh,
here.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is the number that tells you, that number is telling you where you are in your scene director, but look down below as you scrub through, you see they aren't the same number.
Nope.
Because I'm trying to show you that this timeline is your animation controller, not your scene director. Your scene director, which is the whole, it's the thing that gets played out, it's different.
So this is the kind of the master, and this is just for the animation.
Yeah, so in my head, from the years ago that I ever touched After Effects, it was, I'm putting a sub comp into a main comp,
Sure.
and you can slide it to affect your overall timing, right?
Yep.
So you can have multiple layers here with
Yep.
multiple elements, and then they're all timed differently
Yep.
as far as their animation timeline goes, but it's the overall scene director
Yep.
that's going to bring them all together.
Yep.
Okay. Cool.
So we can put keyframes for objects into any animation controller. So I could put all the crazy animation that we might get up to, I could all put it into one animation controller, but then as if I need to make an adjustment, I now have to go digging into my key graph editor and mess with keys, where if I've just got one type of animation, it's all in one animation controller, I can have as many animation controllers as you want. Now you can slide them around on the timeline to get them to start, to play with the
Sure.
overall timing. What you also can put in here, if you right click on track 2, you're going to get a dialog box that pops up in the actual timeline area. Well, it's not the timeline area, I don't know what we call that, but you've got add clip, and then from that you have an event. But you see, this is where we can add another animation controller.
Yep.
We can put a Rostalk command in. So this is what we were doing when we were taking a graphic that then told the switcher to recall a memory.
Nice.
This is where we put that script. That's like, save that for another day. Or a scene director trigger. So I can actually say, hey, when I get to this point, play another scene director, like another animation that I might have in this one,
Yeah.
or in another template.
Oh.
So I can have it trigger another graphic. Now it has to be online,
Sure.
because it's just saying, hey, play that scene director, but if it's not online, does it really animate? It's
Yeah.
like the
Would it
Okay.
be fair to say it's kind of like thinking of it as nesting? You're like nesting another scene director in, or is it just actually jumping to a different one?
I could go with it's like nesting, because it's a trigger, so it's just saying, hey, when I get to this point, animate or start that scene director. So whatever is in that will play
Like
out.
a playlist. It's kind of playlisty. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, it's the word, the operative word there being trigger. It
Trigger.
just
Okay,
it's just
trigger makes sense. Okay.
because what that other scene director, this scene director still is running, so it's not like this one stops and that one goes.
Right.
Typically it does, but
Well, like in MIDI, when we do MIDI stuff, we can do, like they're called program, oh gosh, the sysx control
Mhm.
kinds of things, where we can pull in other MIDI data into it. So that seems like trigger makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go to event, you notice there's more options there.
Yep.
So I'm kind of like predetermining here. So there is a event, there is pause, a take offline, and reverse. So all of those events have the same dialog box. It's just the different settings that are chosen, more
Sure.
preset. So I'd like a pause.
All right.
And you'll see now you get this little yellow box. The very left edge is the part of it that means anything. The length of it doesn't mean anything. It's when the playhead, so if you hit the space bar right now, you see it stops at the left edge.
Oh, okay.
And that is a pause. You double click on that pause, it'll open up the properties for it. And you'll see you've got a jump to, so this is, we can have this, we can control the way that this scene director plays back. We could have it jump back to the beginning, so that would cause a loop. We could go to a particular frame. So if we had an animation where it animates in and then does some other things, we could loop just those other things.
Oh.
We don't have to
is it
always
how
go
you
to the
loop
beginning.
like on the bottom, you know. Well,
Like a 3-point loop. Like if I had, so if you were to build something in After Effects,
Sure.
where it's a whole lower third that animates in and then animates out,
Yeah.
we can have it animate in, get to the point just before it animates out, and tell it to go back to just after it animates in. So then we have it looping through this one part of it,
Sure.
and you can say, hey, do that X number of times, and then it will go through that pause point and go to play the out. Typically, I don't like those
Sure.
because if you're in the middle of that loop and you want to animate out, there is no. You have to
escape,
wait.
right.
You have to wait till the animation, and
Sure.
so we have other ways of doing that. I would normally ask you to have a looping video, and we'd use that as it's just the material for the background, and that will just keep looping,
Sure.
and then we'll use Xpression to animate it in and
Got it.
mask. All right, so hopefully I haven't lost you here or forgotten what we're actually doing, but here you go. Just hit OK for right now.
I
If
got it.
anything, just drag that and put it. If you hold the Shift key down, it will snap to the edge of the one above it.
Nice.
You can also right click. Sorry, but we go also right click on it,
Oh.
and you've got a move to position. So if you want to get real granular as to what frame,
Yeah.
and just one other thing, and then your question. Hope you haven't forgotten it. If you, as you drag it, it will tell you. Try it. If you drag that pause point, you see the position, and then in brackets, it's a plus or a negative. So it's telling you where it's at and how far it's moved.
Oh, very
So you
cool.
hold your Shift key down, it'll snap. Oh, there you go. All right.
Never
Sorry.
mind. Never mind. Actually, my question was, because you can drag, like, I can expand this if I want, but actually you don't. You can't expand that. I thought that.
Right, because we have a 60 frame animation. I can't slide it open.
Yeah.
You want to make it bigger, you do it down on the bottom right here.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Sure.
I'm going to go with that. Just the way it is. Okay. Okay. So we need to start animating.
Yeah.
So what are we going to animate? It will be the mask, right?
Yep.
Cool. So go ahead and move this up.
All right.
There you go. So now we can see what's going on as we scrub through the timelines. So right now we are at the beginning of the animation, right, where the bar is off the screen.
Yep.
So feel free down at the bottom here and scrub that down to 0. Notice, didn't move our scene director, but our animation controller, which is what we're
That's
working
what I
with.
was wondering, because I was like, the red bar is still over on that side, so we're
Yeah.
not at the beginning. But
Yeah,
that's
they're
why,
two
yeah.
separate timelines, and that for me was a tough one to kind of just, why is it that way?
Sure. So this is the master. This is just for the animation.
Yep.
Got it.
So you'll see there are 2 buttons in the bottom left there, or to the left of your mouse, that say key and auto.
Yep.
I just go with key. I don't like auto.
Sure.
I don't know why. Just maybe.
So press keep.
Control K, and because you spent the bucks, you've got a set keyframe button.
Oh, there it is.
All right.
New keyboard to learn.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So there are going to be 4 questions you ask yourself, and you have to get 4 yeses before you're allowed to hit set and close.
Okay.
All right. First question: what point in time are we setting the keyframe? And you'll see it says 0. So that's the first yes. Second thing is, what object are we putting the keyframe on? And you have mask 1 selected, and you'll see the object selected option there says all selected.
Yep.
If you hit the drop down, you're going to get the other options. So you could have current item, which is essentially the same as, because we only got one thing selected, but you've got the other choices there. I am always all selected. Just I'm doing one at a time.
As long as you've selected the right element. then.
Yes.
And you can select more than one?
Yep.
and- Yeah, okay.
Yep. You can shift or control
Oh,
select.
Right, okay.
All right. But because our cylinder is our child, we don't need to touch it, because we can put animation on that separately, in which we will do.
Sweet.
So all select is our second question. We got a yes. Third is, what are we setting a keyframe on? What channel are we putting a keyframe on? And you'll see green and red buttons there.
Yep.
What do you reckon is going to get a keyframe looking at that?
Probably the exposition.
Yes. And?
Guessing the.
Oh. Oh, no, okay.
Oh.
So, the reason I asked you that without telling you is that they're just where you naturally go. So, you think that the red is where it's going to get a keyframe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so no, it's the other
no,
way.
It's not.
It's green.
is where it gets
Green.
a keyframe?
Yeah, red is not. So you see the names. So if you hit position, it's going to turn all three of those off.
And do you want to turn them off and then turn on only what you want?
Correct.
Okay.
Got it.
The only reason that you will select a channel that is not animating is if you want to force it to always be exactly in, like, for example, y-axis. We might decide we could include y, but y is not, we're not changing the y value.
Yeah.
But then it locks you down.
Yeah.
So later on, if you want to move everything up or down overall, problem is every time we play it, it's going to snap to that absolute position.
Sure.
So in some software, like static keyframes, okay, we're talking, I don't know how many years ago, Maya version 3 or 4, it was the more, it made the machine have to think harder.
Yeah.
But I now look at it as, just putting it on the x-axis means we are controlling the left and the right. The up and down we may be able to play with later on. And this can get you as well. This can stump you later on as well. If somebody drags and moves the thing up, that it animates and it's now animating up here and not down at the bottom, that can be confusing too. So, all right.
Yep.
So, channels are good. We get a yes. Notice down below you've got alpha, height, pivot.
Yep.
Those are your secondary properties. So these are all of the things that you can animate on this particular object. All right?
Okay.
So that's 3 yeses. 4th yes is, what animation controller are we putting this keyframe into? And that's a quick look at the bottom right there to where it says animation controller number 1. That's the only one we got. You'll also see that in the scene director, the animation controller is got a yellow border around it. That means it's the active or the selected animation controller. And yes, we can rename that. All right, so those are the 4 yeses. Time, the what channel, and then where is it going, animation controller.
And the channel that we selected is position.
Yeah, X position, because we're just doing
okay,
left or
we're
right.
just doing okay.
So go ahead now and hit set and close after all that.
And I'm sorry, what was the last one of the 4? You don't have to bring it up.
It's what animation controller that is it going in, or where is that keyframe going? So sometimes you may have a different animation controller opened up,
I see.
and you're thinking you'll say storing it somewhere else, and
Got
then
it.
you play it back, it doesn't work right. So that's my four questions. So what does that do? You notice now on the 0 point of your animation controller, there is a yellow line. If you drag that, slide that playhead along, you see the yellow line. That is a keyframe. All right, so now you get to change your X value. So transform, or grab your red arrow on the main viewport. Yeah, try that out. So doing that red arrow and sliding it left to right, you notice you can't move it up and down. You're locked in moving this thing just on the x-axis.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
So the yellow dot, free, up and down, left to right. So let's move it all the way to the right. Now, do you want it to be like wiped totally off the screen?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so then just keep moving it till it's off the screen. So you've run out of...
Can you grab it elsewhere? No.
No, because now that move tool handle is off the screen. So transform tab in the object inspector, the position column, you've got an X, Y, and Z.
So even if I tried adjusting the Y or Z, I can't. It won't.
The Y you can, because there's no keyframes, right? But as we move it up or down, we're going to move the mask up,
Yeah.
so it might mess with you. So.
So what's the position right now? What does that number say? The blue
202,862.548
pixels?
Yep.
Okay, 28,000 or 2,800.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
1920 wide,
Yeah, okay.
1080 high, so that is
That makes
outside
sense.
of the viewable
Right.
area.
So you sort of think in those terms. It'll be easier if you just want to
Yep.
punch a number in there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, what happens if you move the timeline at the bottom?
Oh, it's back.
Yeah,
It's because we didn't make a keyframe.
correct. So you start to animate through that step through your animation. It goes, oh, I'm meant to be here,
Yeah.
and so I did that on purpose for you, just
so you
so.
have to go back and make a keyframe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but you want to change your value, right?
the this value down
The
here.
the X value.
Oh yeah.
What did you hate? It's a 2800.
Yeah, 2800. So it's like 2862.
There you go.
How do you set the keyframe?
Control K. There's a
Is it a button?
yeah.
Set keyframe or
Yeah,
something?
there's a set keyframe right here.
Okay.
Hit it. Dialog box pops up.
Mm-hmm.
So we go through those 4 questions. All right. What set key at time? Right now that's 6.
Like 6.
That would be wrong, right?
No, because it's at
Second.
6.
Do you want it to be 6 frames that fly off the screen?
Nah.
No. So type a new number in there.
60?
Yep.
Yeah, 60.
Okay.
That's the
1
length of
second.
our.
That
So
gets to a
that's our
second.
length of our animation
Right.
controller. All right. All selected. Yes, it's the same thing. Channels, just exposition. That's great. And where we're at, animation controller.
Perfect.
Faster the second time round, right?
Oh,
Set
yeah.
and close.
And that animation controller in the corner down there,
Mm-hmm.
that is a file? Or no? What is
It's your. I like to think of it as a container.
a container? Okay.
Yeah. So now as you play through, so you're playing through the animation controller at the moment. If you go up to the top in the scene director, run it all the way back to 0. Now hit space. So you see there's a delay there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Double click on the pause event. And in the options, the play options there,
Yeah.
it's sort of midway down, choose reverse direction. Hit OK. So now hit it. And hit space again.
Oh,
What was that?
there's pause. Versus it.
So just consecutive pauses goes opposite.
Yeah, so if we were to now put this on the sequencer, so if you jump into the sequencer there, to add a scene, you just left click and drag it from your scene manager into your sequence, which is empty. It picks up that default CG1 layer 0, you take it online. Notice it now says paused. You hit paused. You hit take again.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Oh.
And
So
easy.
now-
It's yeah. Simple.
Is that a default then? That reverse, or did you?
No,
select
that pause is. There is a reverse
Yeah, so I remember
option,
that. Yeah.
which it does the same thing. So
Okay.
now, notice you have to take it offline, right?
Yeah, afterwards. It's
Yeah.
kind of annoying.
Kind of annoying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's fix it. So
All right.
jump into your layout. I like that. It's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
So on track 2, round frame 1,
Track 2, round frame 1. Around
right click, yep. New, add a clip, add an event. There's a take offline. All right. Now what happens when you go to the sequencer? So hit take. Do it again. All right.
Nice. That's all good. Takes it offline.
Shouldn't have done.
It's still red though, right?
Yeah, because this is
Oh.
this is the
Yeah.
switcher telling it, hey, you're live, you're up.
So where's the offline indicator here?
So it just disappears. And notice
Oh.
the state. So watch here, the
Okay.
state column.
Oh, yeah,
Actually,
yeah, yeah.
hit the big A a couple, 4 times.
Thanks for my feeble eyes.
Well, and also the camera
At
too. If you now get to your top there, slide it's just like Excel. You can slide the width of the columns.
Ah.
So you now see that
There
it
you
says paused.
Yeah.
Offline just means it goes it's
Right.
all right.
So it's working the way we want it to work, but you said
It shouldn't have done.
It shouldn't. No.
Because if you go back to the layout,
Sure.
tell me exactly what position this offline is on. Left click and hold.
Okay.
0. Yeah. Throw it a couple frames to your right. All right. Now go to your sequence and start to play that.
That's what I thought. See, that's so 0 is before
0.
frame one.
It's like it's how it used to be. Then there was this point in time where it didn't do it. But this is where we go back to the layout. Double click on the event itself.
Yeah.
On the event itself.
Yeah. So offline. Double click. At the bottom here, you have a execute when activated from play direction. So left and right means we slid it over a couple frames. It means as soon as it hits it, it takes itself offline. So it's on for about a frame, which didn't even register.
So it never played.
Correct.
If it's at 0, it'll start on frame 1.
Yeah.
Which
And
is,
when we play it from the right, as in when it gets reversed, it does play, which takes it offline.
Yeah.
So you should double click on that and just select right.
All right, this is a dumb question. So if you weren't reversing it, you would then move that offline thing over to the other side of the
Yeah.
pause or something.
So you could build a animation in and then a different animation out. And that way you've got, it's not static. But how much of a delay is there when you hit take? You feel there's like a,
Yeah.
so
A little bit of delay.
I don't like that. What did you call it? That
Kind of
sucks? That's kind of annoying. Yeah, kind of annoying. So go to your layout. So slide that animation controller to where it's at 0. And then your pause can be right up against it.
And you said shift will snap it?
Yep.
Okay, shift drag. Right.
Nice. Alright, so now I can play for on.
Yep. So,
Oh, I would take it offline.
yep. Okay.
One more time? Okay.
Boom.
Faster,
And
right?
So
Yeah.
before, when he was hitting the space bar, there was a bit of a delay.
Yeah.
Right, I
And
see.
enough to just for the operator to feel. It's not enough for really, I
How did we
mean,
get it over that far on the animation timeline to begin with?
just
We
drag it.
just
Just
dragged.
seen it. Oh, see.
I got you to slide it over so that you could see the difference between the
Yeah.
scene director and the animation controller timelines in the layout.
So we did that in the scene director.
Yes.
Yes, not the animation timeline.
Correct.
You're right. Okay.
So, but if you could do that in the animation, just put your keyframe a little later on. I don't think that's good. I don't think that's a good practice because
Right.
you just grab the scene director and move it over if you need that delay.
Makes sense.
All right. I'm gonna
Hey, Pat.
go with that.
Good
That's
stuff.
that's like basic.
You said
The
good.
events, but we used a mask, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to show you how you can do a different mask.
Good.
So layout again. You can close out,
Scene director?
yep. Hit a new scene. And we should probably rename that scene, that first scene.
Was there a button for new scene, or did you use it?
Yes.
You press on scene manager and then control N.
Right.
Control N. Okay.
Yep.
Scene manager is right over here.
Okay.
And once you press on scene manager, control. Oh, there's also a little button.
Okay.
I'm going to say.
Mask. Animated mask or something. Oh, for this one? This
Oh.
is a different one. No, this is the same one.
This is scene 1. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Alright, scene 2. What's our name?
All right, scene 2. You're going to be doing object mask.
Got
I
it.
know what it's like to sit back there.
Okay, so I would like 3 quads,
Alright.
each quad being a different color,
Got it.
and overlap them so they're intersecting,
Sure. Okay.
but they're pretty much they are separate.
Okay, I'm sorry. What did you just do? That.
I just
How did you get to this?
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I
So
wanna
no, I
see-
know. Yeah, we haven't, because when you left, we
Yeah.
just done the basics of the
Right.
operating. So on the right-hand side here are all the objects that you can apply to your scene. So
Okay.
we're using quads because they are just the squares are good for images or video. They don't have any depth to them. And then he applied a material for us to actually be able to see them. So if you now move slide them over a little bit, so we get to see each one of those.
So we have more than one there.
Yep.
So, okay. 3?
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So
Do you want me to line them up again?
no, that's fine. The fact that they're separate, because we're going to create a show. I'm going to show you just a different way of masking.
Yep.
So another quad, please. That you apply the mask material. So apply your teapot to it. There you go. Double click on it on the scene manager so that you can get it. We can see it on the way out. There you go. So you can see now as you move that black box around, you can grab the yellow dot. It's masking through everything. This is what I call the brute force method of masking. It's just masking everything in the scene. Everything that's underneath it gets masked out, right?
Yep.
And the other ones are masking. So there's an order there, and the ones that are topmost are masking the bottom. So green is the bottom.
So you've got. So let's name
Oh,
our
there they are.
boxes.
Sure. Alright. So one is teal. Let's say light blue.
You
F2.
guys are much better with colors than me. It's like it's green.
Looking at the red.
You can always tell which kids had the bigger box of crayons when they were kids.
That's right.
I must not have.
That yellow
So
is
what do you call this?
daisy
Burnt
yellow.
sienna.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Macaroni and cheese.
Brown.
All right. So if you started to play with the order in which this mask is sitting in, so use that blue or use your up and down arrows. That's not doing it, is it? Because pretty much everything's occupying the same layer 0.
Yep.
And that's just the way this is automatically rendering. If you were to go to the scene object, so the very top object itself, so this is the settings for the whole scene. If you go to the rendering and change it from automatic to manual, you now, as you move that mask up and down, you see it's now interacting with, because it's now the reverse Photoshop layer order.
Before that, it would have been the auto would have been order of being added to the scene.
Possibly. That's what it looked like, because
Yeah.
it didn't matter where we placed it. And it also could have been that, hey, it's an alpha mask, so we assume you want to mask stuff.
I like this idea though, to where you can actually do it yourself, because then you're sure what's
Yes.
covering
That was that. With flexibility comes complexity,
what.
so sometimes can be harder
Yeah. Okay.
to use. All right, so I want that just to mask the yellow and no other things. So how do we do that?
Can I just drag yellow up to the top and then?
You could do, but I want yellow to be on top of red and blue. See, I'm putting
Okay.
my princess hat on.
Alright.
Okay.
Very good.
So we need to kind of separate the mask and yellow and sort of render them off separately from everything else, so that the mask doesn't interfere with anything else. So to do that, in your object library on the right hand side, you're going to have a layer object. Scroll on down,
Oh yeah.
layer object, click on that. Go ahead and take the mask, drop it in there, and also take the yellow and drop it in there. All right, make sure that your mask is at the bottom. Control down. There you go.
Or drag.
More drag.
Or drag, yep.
Okay.
So now, because of that reverse Photoshop, by default, when you create a layer object, its rendering goes to, not automatic, goes to static. It goes to manual, sorry. So you could have the whole scene be auto, base it on your Z position. But here we are now telling the system, render the mask and yellow separately. Notice what happened to the mask. It becomes transparent,
Yep.
which, to be honest, I prefer that because black squares in my main viewport
Sure.
bug me. But that's why you got to keep looking. I want to see what it really looks like here, not black boxes. So now if you grab the yellow box, yep, drag it around, so you see it's between the blue and the red because of the layer, your layer object order. So if you grab your layer object and move it down, so click on that, hit the one blue down arrow.
And it's already on the bottom.
It's already on the bottom?
Yep.
You sure?
Yeah, you want me to move it up?
Yeah. Because yellow is... Oh, it is. It's on top of both.
Yeah.
I thought it was going in between the... it's an optical illusion. That's why. That's what they call an
So
optical
It's
delusion.
on top of red and teal, but
Right.
it's being blocked by the mask. or
Correct.
Yeah.
So have it sort of half in, half out for right now.
mask.
And grab that layer, move it so that there's yellow over here. There you go. Yeah, perfect. Have it sticking up a bit just so that
Yep.
so we can see that yellow section there. Because now we see the interaction between the mask and the yellow.
Sure.
But if you take that layer object now and put it in between the red and the light blue, so there you go.
Ooh.
Yep, because now red is at the bottom, then it's your yellow with the mask, and then it's your light blue.
Cool.
All right. Okay, so that's the finesse way, second way of using a mask. Third is object mask. So go ahead and drop all of the objects into that layer object. And there's the mask at the bottom. Oh, red's at the... No, hang on, yeah. So now that mask through everything like it did before, but we, instead of a black box, we see what I think a mask is, see-through. Right?
Yep.
Okay, move that mask totally off the move it to the
eyeball
side.
column just turns that layer off.
Visually on and off. So yeah, if he were to hit the mask eyeball,
Oh,
yeah, that
just
turns
like
it out.
Photoshop.
Yep.
Okay.
you want me to put it back in there?
No, it's fine. We're just not going to use the mask at the moment, so just you can turn it off. All right. I would like you to take the red and the light teal box, so select the red one first, and go to the rendering tab. You'll see that we have the color channel output, red, green, blue, and alpha. If you deselect alpha,
Weird, why
if
does it
you-
do that?
what's that?
So why does it do that? Do that?
So move it around and you'll see what's going on. So this is what I'm calling an object mask. So the yellow and the teal boxes
Oh.
are the object, and the red is now,
The mask.
well, it's these two are your mask,
Yeah.
and that's your object as you move it across.
Oh.
So if you did the same for the teal, grab the teal and turn its alpha off. Yeah, you call it teal?
No.
Light blue. All right, there you go.
Fun.
So now the yellow is essentially the object mask, right?
Yeah.
So now you can animate these things around. So you notice as you overlap them, if you send that teal off the top, there's kind of like a white edge, but bring it down again.
Yeah.
On the screen, you don't really see it. One of the rocket surgery guys showed me that if you go to the layer object and go to the blending mode, and you change it from alpha blend to, I think it's pre-multiply. As you do it, I'm going to look at the screen. It changed to you changed it to pre-multiply?
Yep.
Okay. You should not see the fringing in the main viewport. On the way out, it's fine, but sometimes we would get that little white edge, or what you might see over here be black, a black edge to the graphic. That's what we were noticing the other day. All right, so you can animate your objects around and have them fly in or out of a particular object that's not moving.
That's cool.
Okay, so you've created some sort of a flag.
That's right.
And those, we're using solid rectangles, but those could be pictures or graphics, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if your design, your lower third design has, you've got a certain space for your a graphic or an image, you can. It doesn't matter what size image you can apply it on there, and it won't bleed out.
And resizing those somewhere down in those controls, right?
Yeah,
So
so
transform.
yeah, so every object, the very first tab is going to be the specific controls that object has. So scene fonts are going to be what font style and how big it is. The transform, everyone has that. That's where am I in the physical space.
Okay.
Rendering, it's how do I render. Materials, that's going to be there as well. There are some objects like a group. It's not going to have a group is not going to have a material. So depending on the object you select, you're going to get different options.
Okay.
All right, new scene. I got to show you a slab.
All right.
So on the right-hand side in your object library, grab yourself a slab. And that 400-page document, you can go step by step at Trains on Xpression. It'll go
Or
over
the
this as well.
videos.
Yeah, all the videos, yeah. Okay. So, does this look like a quad?
Yes.
But look at that first tab. Look at how many options you've got there. So go ahead and go to your material tab. Let's put a material on this thing. Notice how many faces we've got.
It's a lot of phases.
Yep. So shift select them all.
What's that third word?
Extrusion.
Oh, okay. I just
Yeah.
couldn't read it from back here.
No, I can't either. So
What kind of object was this?
slab.
A slab.
Yep.
Slab. Okay.
So pick one color.
Oops, sorry. Are we good? Hang on, let me check it.
Well,
Yep.
Let's go white. Let's go white.
Okay. All right. So go back to the slab tab.
Slab tab.
Yep. So you've got your width and height like you normally do. And now you've got an extrusion. So go ahead and make that extrusion something like 20. All right. We really don't see what that did. As you go to the transform and rotate that around. So left clicking and dragging. So it's interesting that you can see that edge, but you don't see the back.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if you go back to the slab tab, you have,
Oh, front face,
Back-
back face.
yeah, so turn them all on. So now as you flip that around, all right, go back to your slab tab,
Slab tab.
skew, there's an option. So now you get what do they call that, parallelogram?
Something like that.
Yeah. There is an option there, skew texture. So as you put an image on there, it'll
Oh, skew with it.
or keep it straight. Usually you're using a color.
Sure.
You're not. All right. Go ahead and set that to 0. All right. So you've got next to the right there, corners. You've got upper left, upper right. So do left click and drag on the radius, and see what happens.
And you can round it up.
Yeah. And why is it the top right when you're using the upper left? There you go.
Oh,
He,
'cause
he's
you
making
flipped
yeah, flipped it
We
around.
flipped it.
Yeah. I was expecting it to be upper left. All right, so you see how it's rounded the corner off, right?
Yeah.
On the right there, the column that says smoothing. So adjust that value, the smoothing value.
Yep.
Yep. So one just cuts it off, because I don't know if you've seen the trend where they'll have a quad where one corner is chopped off. Because this could be used as like a background to a image, like I'm talking like over the shoulder type thing.
Okay.
All right. You do have a checkbox at the bottom there that says lock all corners.
That's cool.
So the trick is you've now got this thing in the middle, right? What happens if you drag it down to the bottom part of the screen? You're starting to look down on top of it. So it's going to look like the top part of this is thicker than the bottom part. But we haven't given the bevel any, so you see the bottom there, it's got front bevel at 2.0. You can increase that a little bit and then change the style of the bevel. Just like the 3D font, those same options are there. Let's see. Front bevel, back bevel, you've increased it to 20, but it's still white. Change the material of the
I think he's
front
changing
bevel.
The front bezel.
Oh,
front
because
when
it's
we're
flipped.
looking at the back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Good thinking. I was going to get you just to change the color of the bevel. There you go. You see the light though as a... All right. So this is where that trick of maybe I want just that object to be rendered as 2D. So if you were to go and put your layer in your layer objects, a camera layer, drag and drop the slab one into the camera layer, and that camera layer, if you select it, change it from perspective to orthogonal. So now it's now our bevel equal, because now we're rendering that out separately from everything else,
Sure.
but in 2D. You lose a D.
So if you rotated it, it would just be thin.
Flat, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it still has depth. So if you do a Y rotation,
Oh, okay.
so it just doesn't have that perspective. Okay.
Can we turn that perspective back on and just see if he rotates it down in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if he just goes to the camera layer and turns it back to perspective,
And I'll rotate it. Okay.
because it's sort
Yeah.
of down in our view, down right.
And is the center of the screen then by default the perspective point, or is that
Yeah.
adjustable? Yeah.
Yeah. Now, your perspective camera, so if you went to the scene object, well, you've got a field of view.
What do you see?
So if you go back to your camera layer, you got field of view 45 degrees. So if you can narrow that down. So like putting a long lens on a camera, you flatten everything out, you don't get that perspective. Oh, Jesus. I'm looking over at Michael. There's something that we do with tessera. So if you have an object going from one side of a screen to another, that's your screen is 16,000 pixels. The perspective, if you've got 45 degrees, your perspective stretches everything. So you play with your field of view to sort of help so things don't distort when they're animating across a big screen.
In doing the perspective rendering, it's simulating a lens, basically.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to see everything. If you're 45 degrees, you're
yeah.
Does it emulate?
179 degree lens.
Does it emulate like depth of focus?
no,
No. Okay.
but there is an effects pop-out menu, and there is one that will let you add a blur and or distort.
So
yeah,
it's not an adjustable as a camera property.
right.
Okay, that's
So say, hey,
focus.
further.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, you would keyframe that effect in,
Sure. Yeah.
and it. Well, we're always leery using that just because it gets real taxing. Like, but it can be done. You can. I've known folks that'll do it. In that sense, that's where After Effects comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Render that stuff out,
Yep.
and just the idea is you keep the, let's say we call it volatile texture or volatile objects like text, or in specific images, you'll add those in with Xpression. Just
Yeah.
time those things out.
So you would design that in After Effects and then you load it in here?
You would export out as a video,
As a
or
video,
move,
okay.
or an animated sequence, and then obviously convert it into the AVI file. So you're kind of locked into that.
Is that the file? I mean, is that the movie file format that this will accept? AVI?
Yeah, it's
Only AVI.
an Xpression AVI.
Oh.
Yes, once we go to the 64-bit version of the software, you're not allowed to mess with it and put QuickTime movies in. Used to be that on the
Okay.
32-bit version you could load in a QuickTime movie, but we would say you're on your own. Don't come calling us if it doesn't play right, or because majority of the time it did play, but sometimes it would play audio out of sync, or it would, and that's why it was just keep it the
All right.
Xpression
Do you guys
codec.
have an encoder, or do we use media encoder for that? For Xpression AVI, is that what it's called?
So there is a Xpression AVI codec
Okay.
that only works on Windows.
Okay.
So if you do have Adobe Media Encoder running on a Windows machine, which we did talk about,
Oh.
you could set up watch folders and have it do that for you.
And you
There is
just-
software on the desktop that does
So
let
you
you.
just do it on this machine, you
Yeah.
bring that in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
you
that'd
can
just be an
use-
extra step. Okay.
Yep.
Just has to be converted for use in Xpression.
Okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't take long.
And you're about to ask, is there a
Are there any plans to make it Mac?
zero?
Probably not, right?
Yeah.
We always ask. You know.
No, I know, and it is. Yeah, it's. I
Don't worry about
don't
it.
see a because Xpression does not run on Mac. It will run on a Windows running in a Mac.
Dashboard.
That-
would
Okay.
work on Mac,
Last
though.
quick question then,
Yep.
because I have Parallels on my Mac.
Yeah,
Anyway. I
you'll
used to
be-
do dual boot, and then I had to go to the newer one. But so, are we able to, with our licensing, can we load Xpression on our own machine and build stuff and then bring it in here or not? Do we have to have extra licenses for that? What?
Do
What
not
is-
lose that.
Oh.
If you want another one, or you lose it and you want another one, that's over $2,500.
Yeah, no, yeah, Pro Tools.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
So we have another one.
That
We have another one.
yes, that because you bought a Carbonite,
Okay.
you have that license key.
It's probably gonna go to Pat. I'm guessing.
You should have gotten another one with the other Ultra.
Yeah, we do. Okay.
So you do, but it's not going to have this. You're not going to be able to have the
We
latest
have
version.
2 Carbonite switchers and 2 Xpression graphics machines. So the university has 2 of those.
Okay.
So this one can live in Egan, and the one in SJC can live in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So right now we're training on the one for Egan. I mean for Marcom. It's gonna go over to St. Joseph. No, I mean because that's not plugged into anything. So we only have 2 dongles, right?
Yeah.
So one of them has to
The
go. to
dongle is for the spare, right?
Oh.
The dongle is like the
So-
second machine. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is just a designer license. Which doesn't give you any animated output. but it has all of the interface, all the things you can build. So the idea is you build offline, and then there is a file
Okay.
export as a package. It creates
So I
one
might be
file.
able to take
So,
one of these?
yeah.
Okay.
What I was saying was that because we
I'll
have
be right there. Yeah.
2 dongles, you can designate any computer here for ComArts, and we can designate any computer over there for Marcom.
Okay.
That can be the second PC that has
Okay.
Designer running on it,
Mm-hmm.
so we don't have to be in the studio to build.
Right.
If something's going on, we can still build for later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might want to try that out, and then yeah.
It's
that's
good
great.
to, if you follow along with the video or you want to try something out real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll sit there at home trying to figure stuff out or play with stuff. I
Excellent.
see something on TV, I could do that.
It has an hour probably.
Because I could lose hours to experimenting. I'll see something on TV and be like, I can make that.
I've now got a switcher on my laptop. So I've got the graphite CPC, so I can do the NDI stuff through my laptop.
Oh,
That's what I was
cool.
doing yesterday morning. I was messing with that, getting that all working
NDI
properly.
was one of my random questions for my list.
Oh, that's right. You've got a
So-
list of cool questions.
So if we have PTZ cameras across campus.
Yep.
What is this system's capability for handling NDI? If
0.
0. Okay, that's fine.
No,
we
but
can at least
you-
convert it
Correct.
to SDI and take
Yep.
the video, even if we couldn't remote control from here.
Yep.
If we had some other form of network control on the system,
Theoretically, we could send
take the,
out of the Xpression.
take the gal.
If you were to go to, yeah, do a Control S to save your project.
Yes, sir.
You should be able to. I don't play with it that much, but if you go to Edit Hardware Setup, because you've only got one CG machine at the moment, one channel.
Oh yeah.
Edit Hardware Setup,
So the
and you go Add at the bottom.
yeah.
Drop down list there. You should see New Tech NDI. There you go. And hit OK. And so this is an output, name of output. If you hit OK, there you now are sending an NDI out.
Oh, so this is sending
But
the
when
frame
you,
buffer
yeah, if you
out
double,
the door.
if
With
you-
alpha channel?
right now it says preview only. You have to disable one of your real SDI outs to make it a real, true NDI stream.
Okay.
So you're only allowed 3 physical outs, license for that. So
Expression. Yeah.
you got to steal one from the SDI world. Now that's not going to help you here because does
So we could
Or-
feed graphics somewhere
Yeah.
from here.
Should I delete this?
yeah, you can delete it. But I'm just showing you that is an
So-
option for
So we
you
can-
to.
Not only can we send NDI from here, but we could take any converter
Mm-hmm.
and put it in between here and any other building and send
Yeah.
NDI both directions.
And on the NBI input, I don't know. I mean that one. Do you see? There's a red square in the only red button in your interface. Looks like a record. Yep.
It does look like recorded.
Record client.
Yep. Click on it. So your Xpression has 2 video inputs. They're not connected at the moment, but if you were to connect them, you could record here. But you also can use live video as a material.
Huh.
I wonder though if you could do NDI, because then I don't know, like I'd have to look it up to find out if we could actually take an NDI stream into Xpression. Because now you could apply it to a surface, a material, and then that gets out into your switcher.
I mean, I wasn't
That'd be
even
crazy.
thinking about routing it through Xpression to make a surface out of it. I was just talking about using
Yeah,
NDI
getting-
signals as a source for switching the show
Yeah.
from here. If our
Well-
cameras were somewhere else on campus.
That's how the graphite CPC works. The graphite in the cloud is using NDI streams
Yeah.
that get converted to WebRTC and then back to NDI. It's like, yeah. Yeah. dashboard will see an NDI stream. So you could have a dashboard panel with a view in it
Huh?
for monitoring that kind of stuff. So
I've got to get Anthony down and reconnect those field house cameras.
They got
Like I got, no, they're fine, but I got locked out in my password.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I can't remember my password and I can't reset it, so I just need the IT, the networking guy to reset my access. Because once I have that, I can see what's going on in the gym from any browser on campus.
Yeah, that's fun.
Type in the IP and
yes, yeah.
Sony spy mode.
All right, you can close out that record client. But when you do if you record anything in that record client, you're going to get a Xpression AVI file. You don't have to mess with it. Now, in that record client, you right-click on any of those Xpression AVI codec files. You have the option to use as create a new material, and so. Okay, so that was your slab. We messed with the torus a little bit, right? Yesterday we had the ring thing.
Oh, yeah.
Cylinder, you can make that to be a cone or a pie chart or a circle. Oh, how would you do a triangle?
Ooh.
It's a cylinder.
What?
Chuck
Well,
a cylinder.
Would you,
Yeah, try it
I
out.
think I know.
So make the extrusion like 0, or I guess it's length, isn't it? Rotate it 90 degrees in the Y. And you can move it out the way.
I think you have a disc.
Yeah. So what do you think? You having a think? So this is the answer. Now, how do we get a triangle out of that?
Oh, well, see, this isn't the way I was headed.
Oh, go.
I-
What would you think of?
So, I would say take a cylinder, move the radius of one of the ends to 0,
Yep.
and then
Yeah, do
render
that.
it in orthogonal view so that you never get perspective on that cone. Would that work? Or am I overthinking it and doing it a weird way?
No.
No, it wouldn't work?
I mean, no, that's a good idea.
Oh, okay.
It's not what I was thinking, but you'd have to render it out as
Need extra steps.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, the system now is rendering that separate from everything else.
Okay.
Tessellation is where I was going.
Oh. You make a quad and give it one triangle to work with?
Well, it's a cylinder, and you just reduce the tessellation down, and the lowest value is 3. And it creates 3 sides
Just change the length
funny.
to what?
to 0 or 10, whatever. No, just do 10. Make it huge so we can the radius big so we can see it, and that would be both of them.
Transform. Put 90 degrees on the Y.
Yeah, add materials to it. So select all your faces so you. Okay. So go back to the cylinder tab, and you'll see tessellation off to the right. It's 40. So that's how smooth the curves are. So reduce that down to 3.
Oh.
Yep.
It's really easy.
Now flip it around, spin it around. You'll see that it's
Well, you can put his length back up, and then he's got like an extruded triangle.
yeah,
Yeah.
a Toblerone,
There you go.
but a pointy one. It's like you can't round it.
It's a pyramid.
So if you go with his theory, so if you set the tessellation back just left click and reef it all the way up. And then take the length and make it a lot longer. All right, and then one of the radiuses, make it 0. So rotate it so that it's, what was it, 90?
No, -9. Okay.
Oh, 0. There you go. Now create, have you got a camera layer? Add another camera layer.
I think I see what's going to happen.
Well, we're going to find out.
Yeah, because even though you lose certain kinds of perspective.
So not a
I think-
perspective camera, but
Oh,
a
yeah,
camera
yeah, yeah,
camera
yeah,
layer.
yeah.
Well, no, it'll still be a triangle. I was going to say you might see the curve on the bottom, but you wouldn't with an orthogonal.
All right.
We're going to
Camera
find
up.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it shouldn't do. So place the that cylinder into that.
Oh, yeah, I should move this. Place the camera into the cylinder. Alright.
Nope.
I think it's the other way around.
All you did is made that camera layer a child of the cylinder, and
You said place the
Yep.
cylinder together?
change it to, so the camera layer, change it to a orthogonal. But that's a shaded triangle, right?
Yeah, because it's accepting the light in the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Ah.
adjust
No,
the
no, no,
relationship?
check this out.
Okay.
Edit that material.
Edit the material.
Yeah, so double click on the little M.
Everything.
Just do
So
the
you
tri-
notice that there is a diffuse,
Yep.
ambient, and emissive. You click on emissive and make it, grab the eyedropper and drag and drop it onto the yellow there. Let go. Take your, did you do that right? No, it's like,
It's not taking it.
it's not taking that color.
I always have a trouble with eyedropper. Photoshop too. I don't know why. I feel like
Maybe because of the mode we're in, but there you go.
That guy,
All right.
copy and paste the hex key.
So yeah, we did. So if you hit OK. So if you turn the light off, notice everything. So everything else turned off. Yeah, black.
But it's its own light source.
You got it. So it's the color coming out of the object. That's that emissive channel. Now in your preview of your thumbnail of your material, you get what it looks like with all the diffuse and all the other those other colors or in the other channels there. But depending on the light in your scene. So for example, if you edit that material, so right click on it, yep, edit material. Go to the diffuse channel there and pick a totally different color. There you go, hit OK. So nothing changed there, right?
So if we turn on the directional light.
Turn on the directional light, you're going to get the mix of those two colors, the diffuse channel and the emissive, and that's what you're really going to see. Especially if you look at, you've got this light actually has a color as well. And of course the yellow is so powerful on that emissive that, but you see how this, which is a white, is now taken on obviously the color. It's like throwing a gel on the light, color gel on your light.
Yeah.
So color mixing goes on here. 99% of the time everyone's just going white.
Sure.
So you do see you've got HSL, which is your hue, saturation, and luminance, or you have your RGB, so you have your those colors. And I was going to check to make sure that what we see in that our color space is matching from the switcher to the Xpression, because that one I don't remember if it was or not. So if you double clicked online, or no, you got it. So if you selected that flag, well, I'm calling it a flag. You select that. So red, those are those kind of matching? They are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. As much as they can from a computer screen. It's not like we're working in a different color space, is what I'm getting at.
So I see that this material, since we edited it, is now affecting.
Right, because that wherever this material is used, project-wide,
Sure.
is
Okay,
going to get
so
that change.
Would you recommend like duplicating something like that before?
Yeah, if you want it just to be that for that one thing in the one template, if you want to do it over the whole project, like your
Okay.
your school color changed or the logo, then you
Sure.
only have to do it in one space. Just like your scene fonts. Fonts are global.
Sure.
Okay.